So this is our kids' readings and pictures in the journey to the cross. Kids, thanks for joining us. Wish we could do this together in this building, but it's good to do it this way too. It's a wonderful thing that Jesus gave us. He told stories so we'd remember, painted images in our mind. At his death, the night before his death, he gave full meaning to the Passover, that he's the Passover lamb, and he left us with what we call the Lord's Supper, where we get a hold in our hands, bread broken, symbolizing his body, a cup of wine, of juice, representing his blood, which was shed for us. And we do this every month where we take this. He says, as often as you take this bread and drink this cup, you remember my death. And so there's images and things that he's given to us to remember him. So these readings are really along that line. Thanks for joining us. The first one is in the garden. It was in the Garden of Gethsemane that Jesus prayed for God's help. He was afraid. The Bible even says that he was terrified and he was alone. Have you ever been afraid? I mean, really scared? Then you know a little bit how Jesus may have felt. Imagine yourself there with him. Can you feel the pain in his heart as he thinks about what is going to happen to him? He knew what was coming. The ridicule, the lashes, the torture, and humiliation, like the scenes of a movie, flashed through his mind. No wonder he asked that his Father remove this cup from him. Maybe you can think about those things in your life with your parents. And after doing that, it helps you experience what Jesus experienced. Then after doing that, thank him for the great love that is in his heart for you, and that he would be willing to give up his life and be willing to die for you. Betrayal. Jesus was betrayed. Do you know what that word means? You could stop and ask your parents, or maybe you've experienced that yourself. Just talk about, what does it mean to be betrayed? Jesus was betrayed by Judas, one of his closest friends. When the soldiers came for him in the garden, all of the rest of his closest friends ran away. So in a way, they betrayed him too. He had to face all his enemies alone. Do you ever feel alone? Have you ever been treated unfairly? How do you respond? How did Jesus respond? That might be good to talk about with your parents. When Jesus prayed in the garden and said yes to God, he accepted that this would mean he would suffer. Jesus accepted that. He trusted God, and he didn't complain. Dear God, in the same way, help me to respond in faithfulness to you. Help me to love and pray for those who turn their backs on me.
Jesus was taken to a place where soldiers beat him with whips. After beating him, the soldiers put a crown of thorns on his head and made fun of him. On top of all that, Jesus was made to carry a heavy wooden beam to the place where he would be crucified on it. Have you ever been made fun of? Have you ever had to do something that was very hard or painful? Can you think of a time when someone really hurt you? You might want to take some time and talk about it with your mom and dad. Maybe it seemed like people didn't care what happened to you at all. Do you think Jesus was forgotten? Well, his friends all ran away, but his Father still was with him. In the same way, God is with you when you go through hard things. Take some time to thank him that he is with you no matter what. He promises never to leave you alone because you belong to him and he loves you.
The cross. Parents, this little reading will be about forgiveness, and so when this ends, it might be good for you just to talk to your children about situations in their own life and pray with them. The cross. The soldiers grab Jesus and lie him face up on the cross, stretching his arms. They hold his wrist and hand to the wood. They drive the nail with a hammer. They do the same with the other arm, raising his knees so that his feet would lie flat. They hammer. How much Jesus hurts as the soldiers nail him to the cross. He hurts all over. He is tired and thirsty. He knows that he is going to die, but he looks at the people who have hurt him, and instead of saying bad things to those people, Jesus asks God to forgive them. Can you think of a time when someone spoke unkind words to you or treated you badly? Was it hard for you to forgive that person? Maybe it's still hard. Maybe you haven't forgiven them yet. Jesus knows that forgiving is a hard thing to do. That's why he will help you. He will help to change your heart when you ask him to help you forgive someone. Because he forgives, we can too. Parents, this would be really good for you to talk with your own children about forgiveness and the cross and Jesus and to pray with them.